Bitcoin is at a very critical level, crypto kids, and if we're able to break above the 93.2, things will shift into a very positive direction where over on weeks, I'm going to take profits from the positions we've opened and I will start shorting Bitcoin. A few days back, we've been noting that Bitcoin will likely create a double bottom, and then following the double bottom creation, if we were to break above this 93.2, then we're going to go into higher price levels. Initially 96,000 most likely in my opinion, and then into the 99.5 all the way to the 107.5, which is the daily 200 moving average, and then see a rejection. Bitcoin currently is playing that by the textbook, but a break above 93.2 is necessary. If you can't do that, then technically you're still creating lower highs on the greater 4-hourly picture. You have created a higher low, and that's a good sign. We'll explain what all of that means on today's updates. But guys and girls, if you do think that this video sounds interesting, then make sure to go and destroy the like button for me. That would be incredibly appreciated. And if you're not a crypto kid yet, then subscribe and turn on all notifications for daily Bitcoin and crypto price analysis. If you're looking for a place to trade, you can do so using the first link in the description for weeks, where you can get a $10 to $100 coupon once you sign up with this link, bind your phone number to your account. It takes 43 seconds to create your account, and you're good to go. We have Pinex and Coinflare also linked in the description down. Let's go to the price of Bitcoin, and I'll cover the breaking news towards the later stages, some very important news for Vanguard and for MicroStrategy. Bitcoin for hourly time frame, like I mentioned, we're still in a 4-hourly macro picture downtrend, but that downtrend would be broken if Bitcoin breaks above 93.2, the same level we mentioned a few videos prior. You need to break above 93.2. If we can, then the first level of resistance is going to be presented in the $96,000 range. So between this price range is where Bitcoin will likely face some resistance, but this is a W pattern and it will have enough momentum within it. Again, 93.2 has to be broken to push us into the over, I believe, 100K price ranges, where my short positions on weeks are going to remain activated. And I'm going to start taking profits there. I think that Bitcoin will go into this range on the daily retest, the 200 daily moving average. At this point, you guys know that every single cycle, Bitcoin falls below the 200 daily moving average. 40 to 70 days later, after breaking below, you retest it, and then you get a large rejection to the downside. I think this is still going to be the picture. So if you want to be opening trades, then you can do so with the first link in the description below. We mentioned that the 81s could be the low, but it looks like if Bitcoin can now break above 93.2, then we don't need to revisit those 80.5 and 81.5 price regions, and that is great news. We're still holding up above the prior resistance of the inverse head and shoulder, turned it into support, and really all eyes need to be laser focused on 93.2. If we're unable to break above 93.2, then yeah, you could come down again and perhaps form a bigger and more important triple bottom, and then try to go back to the upside after creating that pattern. This is all irrelevant unless you break above 93.2. So 93.2, you may want to set an alert. It's that important. You may want to set an alert at this price level. If we can break above, I think we will go much, much higher. All right, so that's the Bitcoin price update. We have some breaking news. I think the reason why Bitcoin actually pumped about 3% within a 4-hourly candle right over there was because Vanguard, the second largest asset manager in the world after BlackRock, they are an $8 trillion asset manager. BlackRock is approximately $11 to $12 trillion. These guys enabled Bitcoin ETF trading on their platform too. Over 50 million clients. They enabled the IBIT BlackRock ETF to be traded for their clients. Now, quite ironically, just like JP Morgan, Vanguard was very anti-Bitcoin. They said that it does not belong in a long-term portfolio, and that it is not a store of value, and that it is too volatile. But guess what? Just like JP Morgan bending the knee 2 weeks ago and Jamie Dimon being incredibly bearish on Bitcoin, Vanguard was also bearish, but they now offer it to their clients. There's a massive amount of demand. In Q4 of 2025, Vanguard asset manager clients were requesting Bitcoin ETFs up by 300%. So in a situation like this, you have no chance but to offer it to your clients. It doesn't matter what JP Morgan thinks about Bitcoin or what Vanguard thinks about Bitcoin. If people want to buy it, these asset managers, all they can do is just offer it to them. So how will this impact Bitcoin in the future? I know it's up 2-3% today, but in the long term, according to Grok, there is a chance that we get $20 to $50 billion worth of additional inflows to BlackRock's IBIT ETF, which would obviously be amazing. Okay, it's great, great, great news. So that's Vanguard. And then secondary breaking news is Michael Saylor and Strategy. We've been covering this saga for the past week now. We got quite scared when the Strategy CEO, first of all, sold his MSTR shares, or some of it, and then he mentioned that the company's stock falls below net asset value, then funding options would disappear and they would have to go ahead and sell Bitcoin to cover dividends, etc., etc. Yesterday, Michael Saylor announced that they have created a $1.4 billion cash reserve and bought an additional $11 million of Bitcoin to take their total Bitcoin value to 650,000, and this cash reserve would be enough to pay 21 months worth of dividends on their preferred stock equities. This is to make sure that there is shareholder trust and to rebalance their debt structure to make it as conservative as possible. And I think it is super, super conservative. Today, the MSTR CEO mentioned that they were building reserves to withstand a drawdown in Bitcoin and sustained MNAV below 1 for 3 years. This means in the worst case, they wouldn't have to sell Bitcoin until 2029. If you are bearish on Bitcoin, and if you don't believe that Bitcoin is going to be a lot higher than it is today in 2029, then sure, don't own MSTR. But I think it's going to be much higher in 2029. I have Bitcoin. I also have MSTR. I think MSTR is incredibly oversold and overfunded at this moment in time. And I personally believe it is a good time for DCA on MSTR. Can it go as low as $109? Of course it can. But I think it is a good DCA at this moment in time. Jim Cramer mentioned that NVIDIA isn't as important as strategy. To be honest with you, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I'm just going to take it as good news and call it bullish for MSTR. He's also been commenting about Bitcoin, saying that Bitcoin is going to hold and yada, yada, yada. So Jim Cramer has been tweeting a lot about Bitcoin and crypto recently today. And finally, to end off the MSTR topic, they revised down their end-of-year Bitcoin price target from $150,000 per Bitcoin to the range of 85,000 to 110, which I think is very, very sensible. Final piece of news from the past 24 hours. This morning at 5 a.m., I was streaming Powell, and it was horrible because he entered the panel discussion, and it was the final opportunity that we would have seen Powell talk before the FOMC event. So I was like, okay, you know what? It's an opportunity. I'm going to stream it. Maybe the probabilities will change. So we went ahead. I woke up at 5 a.m. I streamed Powell. And as soon as they began the event, it was a 1-hour event, Powell said that he's not going to be commenting on monetary policy. So it was a little bit of a nothing burger. It is what it is. In 7 days and 21 hours time, we have the main event. And there's currently an 89.2% probability that they cut rates by 25 basis points and 10.8% chance they don't cut at all. My prediction remains the same. If they don't cut, then Bitcoin and risk on dumps. If we get a 25 basis point cut, neutral. If we get anything more than 25 basis point cuts, then I think we will pump tremendously. Kevin Hassett has been mentioned by Trump in his breaking news live stream just about an hour ago, saying that he will probably become the new Fed chair and replace Fed Chair Powell. We know that Hassett pushes for faster rate cuts. We know that he has a lot of alignment with the Trump administration, and he is bullish on stocks and crypto. So a lot of liquidity is going to be released into the markets next year. Is that a good idea or not when inflation is rising? That I'm not sure about. But we know that liquidity is super tight. We had one of the largest amounts of reverse overnight repos injection into the markets yesterday, 13.5 billion, highest since COVID and highest since the dot-com bubble. Liquidity crisis is real. They have to increase liquidity, because if they don't, then they can't pay off their national debt. Remember, yesterday we saw a dump on Bitcoin because Japanese treasuries they've hit levels that we've not seen since the 2008 financial crisis. And guess what? They cannot now buy the same amount of treasuries, American treasuries, Japan, as they did before. They were one of the largest buyers. So what happens then? America needs to print money and buy their own debts. Money printing leads to monetary debasement, and it leads to the price of Bitcoin and risk on markets appreciating to the upside. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope to see as many of you as possible in Binance Blockchain Week tomorrow, if not in the Bitcoin conference next week. Have a wonderful night. Take care, and as always, bye-bye.